Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here today to review Bad Sister. This is my first Bette Davis movie, and as you guys know, after I saw Bette Davis in her last movie for the first time, which is pretty funny, actually, like, if you think about it, like, isn't that funny for people to, like, watch some famous actor for the first time in their last movie? Like, that's kind of funny, because you have all these people that grew up with her, they watched her all when she was a star, and then they saw her grow throughout her career. Meanwhile, you have me, and my first movie is the last movie she did. Or no, wait, no, I think it's second to last. I can't remember, but either last or second to last. Either way, she was on her last legs. And I really liked her in that movie. I thought she was the best actress in the movie, even though they were all pretty good. But she did a really cool performance in that movie, because somehow, even though she's in her 90s, she convinced me of her femme fatale sexiness. The way that there's this one scene where she walks into this room with this dress on for the first time, and she looks like a beautiful femme fatale, and it's the figure. Like, she has this figure, this mysterious, like, awesome, sexy figure, and she did such a good job in that movie. I wanted to have some more Bette Davis. I have a hankering for Bette Davis now. And that's just what happens. You got all these actresses from the golden age of Hollywood, whatever ages they call them. I mean, what sense does that make anyway? Because nowadays, what do you call this age? The shit age of Hollywood? I mean, whatever age of Hollywood you could say she was at her peak in, I have a hankering. And that's what happens, is that you have all these actresses from back then, from back when actresses had to have talent, they had to have natural beauty. You know, they weren't these ugly bitches who put on makeup to cover up the fact that they're just these ugly attention whores who want attention and fame and popularity, and they want to sell their souls to get it. Back then, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, you had to have talent. You had to be like Bette Davis. You had to be like Lillian Gish. You had to be a hard-working actress. You had to be a very, very talented individual to be a star in Hollywood. You know, there was a lot of mysteriousness to them too, the way that they're like icons. And it's like, it is really like, it is like going into the refrigerator and having all this ice cream, different flavors of ice cream, and you're like, which one do I try first? You know, which one do I want to have a bowl of first? And I want to have a bowl of Bette Davis right now. So this movie, okay. It's okay. This is her first movie, Bad Sister, and honestly, that's one of the things that shocked me, was the fact that this was her first movie, because she actually did a good job for this being her first movie, and it was like, she was probably the best actress in the movie. The kid was really good. All the actors were good in this movie, but one of the things that I thought was funny was the fact that the main characters in this movie are the women. So yet again, we have another movie that is overlooked by modern Hollywood. You know, nowadays they're like, women have never starred in movies until 2010. You know, that's what they act like, basically. And in this movie, you have the two main characters are women. I mean, it is unbelievable, the erasure of these talented, powerful, strong female icons in their movies. It is terrible how they've done all these great movies and they've basically been erased by the establishment in order to promote this anti-men agenda nowadays. And the story is very simple. And that's something that it works to its benefit and it works to its detriment. Because this movie, like Morbius, like what Safi was saying with that movie, this movie also feels like it is a TV pilot episode. It feels like this is the first episode of a long-running show that was popular in the 30s. It does not really feel like a movie because you have this cast of characters. It basically all centers around this family. You have this family and the Madison family. And the Madison family, when you hear that name, it sounds like this should be a show. And you have these two sisters, and they have a brother, a little shithead brother. And I gotta say, the little brother in this movie, Hendrik, I think his name was, he was a little shithead. Like, he's just running around causing trouble like a little demon monster kid. He has this really creepy laugh, like, like that's his laugh. It's very, very unsettling. And he laughs like the whole movie, and he's just constantly causing chaos. I mean, he really could be a creepy horror movie villain in like a Universal monster horror movie where it's like called The Devil Spawn or something. And at one point he does something so evil that it actually, he actually starts feeling bad for once. And I thought that was interesting. And then you have the two sisters. You have Laura, who is Bette Davis, and you have Marianne, who is, I think her name is Sydney Cox. It was sad with her because I was looking at all the actors on IMDb, and I read that she very tragically died at age 34 of an apparent suicide, quote unquote, which in Hollywood, suicide is just quote for murder. I mean, there's no one in Hollywood, in my opinion, who's really ever committed suicide. And I know that that's like a hot take, and that's like a, oh no, Marco's a conspiracy. But I genuinely think, like, if just look at Bob Saget, look at all these cases of quote-unquote suicide, where like Whitney Houston, for example. Ooh, that one really creeped me out. That was the first ever Hollywood death that I looked up, and I was just so weirded out by the circumstances around that, and just, ooh, God. That is one that creeps me out, is Whitney Houston's death. And then you have Isaac Cappy. That case, that really was like right out in the open. Okay, this is not a suicide at all. And with this woman, with this beautiful young Hollywood star, she apparently had an abusive husband. And one day she was found in her bedroom, and she committed suicide by taking sleeping pills. Wink, wink. Okay, like, how obvious, like, why did they just make it so obvious? It's like they just rub it in your face that they can kill people, that these big time Hollywood people, they can just kill people. It's really bizarre. It's like, is this really the type of people that we want to look up to? Because you have this beautiful, young, talented actress, Sydney Cox, in this movie. I apologize if I got her name wrong, but she does a pretty good job. She's a very good protagonist. She plays sort of she is the bad sister, and she likes money, and she likes attention, and she falls for everyone except for this fat guy. And the movie basically centers around relationships with this family and how there's bad and good relationships and they lead to other things. And the main girl, she's one of those types who just falls for anyone. Like, she just falls for... She's basically like me. Like, she just wants a variety pack of ice cream, and she just can't stop falling for everyone but her own sister, you know what I mean? And her own brother. Because she's like, oh, I like him. No, I like him. No, I like him. Except for the fat guy, of course. And I was kind of off about that, you know. I was like, oh, is this going to be one of those types of movies where it's like, oh, she can't be with the fat guy because the fat guy is just a funny clown loser. And, you know, nobody can be with the fat guy. And I know that sounds weird and like I'm taking it personally, but it's the fact that it's just so typical for nowadays. It's just so typical. That's all we see. We never see anything, and so I'll get to that part at the end. There is a really, really good part at the end, which just made me go like, wow, like this movie, it's too bad they don't make movies like this anymore. That's for damn sure. And anyways, but he has a lot of money, and so it kind of seems too like, oh, of course, the wealthy guy is really fat, and so... wouldn't it be good for the woman to marry the wealthy guy? And I thought, like, this is not going to be very good. But then she falls in love with the stranger in town, played by Humphrey Bogart. And this is actually my first ever Humphrey Bogart movie. And he is probably the worst part of the movie. He is so underdeveloped and paper thin. And in fact, all the male characters in this movie, except for really the father and the brother, all of them are really just kind of flimsy love interests for these women. And so I don't have a problem with that, but I just think it's funny that people act like it's only ever been one way until 2010. And in this movie, like, the doctor guy, you have this doctor that they both fall in love with at one point, and he's really boring and weird, and he's just really like dull. I mean, his hair looks like it was spray painted with white spray paint. It's really weird. He looks like a 1960s Batman supervillain, this Dick doctor. You know, everybody in this movie loves Dick, okay? Like, both sisters love Dick, the dad loves Dick, the brother loves Dick, the mom loves Dick, they all love Dick. And it's like, why? Like, why do you guys just love this really generic, boring doctor guy? He never really shows any good character qualities at all, except for, I guess, he's kind of nice. Like, that's the only thing. But we never see, like, any hint at, like, his personality and, like, what he's about. It's just like, oh, he's a nice guy. And same thing with Humphrey Bogart. He's supposed to be the villain of the movie. He plays this con man, and his character is literally like just a plot device. He's in these scenes, and he just comes and goes, and he disappears and reappears. He never gives... I didn't know a thing about that guy. I guess his name is like Valentine Corliss or Corliss or something. I mean, what the fuck kind of a name is that? Like, they keep calling him Corliss. It's like, who is this guy? Like, he's just this weird guy who comes into town, and he's just so boring and dull. And so the guys in this movie, they're pretty boring. I mean, they're pretty boring, but they're okay. I mean, they're not terrible. They're not terrible. But I really just felt like this movie story about this con artist, this story could have been the episode for a show. And I found out that this is based on a book called The Flirt, or it's a novel called The Flirt, and the writer, I guess he wrote this other book about a family, and it was like this giant book that Orson Welles adapted, and it was like a 6-hour movie or something. I don't know. I haven't ever seen an Orson Welles movie except for that really boring Citizen Kane, which I wasn't able to finish, by the way. But I really just felt like this was a show. And so that was kind of the downfall of this movie, was there really wasn't any point to it. Like, I know I've been getting off track a lot in this review, but it's really just because the movie doesn't have much meat to it. It's a very, very simple, by-the-books movie. There are some really, really good things in this movie, though. There are some really redeeming qualities. And one of those is the queen of this week, I guess you'd say, or month, however long this will take. Bette Davis herself, she is a star. You can tell by this movie, the whole movie is about Marianne, but Bette is really the one who sticks out. I mean, she has these very beautiful eyes that they just like pop out like a Tim Burton character, but not too much. And she has this, really lovely, like, blonde hair and kind of dirty blonde hair. And she has such a beautiful, simple, natural look to her. And she's very good. There's this one scene near the end where she has to act for, like, 3 minutes or so without talking. And I gotta say, I'm really starting to love movies where there's not a lot of talking at certain points. I'm starting to really love these, like, silent moments. Like, not the whole movie silent. Like, I don't want a whole silent movie. I don't like silent movies, as you guys have found out. But these moments where people can just be silent for, like, 5 minutes max, I'm really starting to, like, love these moments, because it's breaking up the pattern. It's breaking up the speech pattern by having this silent scene. And the scene is basically Bette Davis has her heart broken. And it ends up working out, though. It ends up working out, which that's one of the things that was kind of weird. But I was fine with it, because this movie got really dark near the end. It got really dark on purpose, almost. Like they were just trying to do the darkest things possible near the end to make you, like, see, like, oh, look, there's drama happening. And this is what happens when bad things happen. Like, it was very forced near the end. All of a sudden, just everything comes crashing down. But then they force everything to get happy at the end. It's really weird. It's like a bipolar thing where you think everything is in shambles, and then all of a sudden, the next minute, everything is good. But there's this scene where Bette Davis gets her heart broken because her brother played this prank on her. And it was a very, very good scene. And it really made me feel for Bette Davis's character, Laura, because she has this diary, and there's something that happens with that, and basically it's just her burning her diary because she is sad that she got her heart broken, and then her brother comes to comfort her, and it is such a good scene. Like, it is so good. It's like, wow, I wish there was something like that nowadays. And I gotta tell you guys, not to brag, not to, like, show off like it's about me, because it's not. I mean, I'm not the only filmmaker out there, and I hope that other filmmakers follow suit of these good old movies. But when I write my scripts, I try to not have dialogue when I can. And so there was a scene, every single scene almost, I go, okay, can I actually do this without the characters speaking? Like, do the characters really need to speak, or are they just speaking because they because it's a movie, they have to speak, blah, blah, blah. And so I really love scenes like that. And this scene was really impressive to me. And the fact that she's burning her diary, it's a very, very award-worthy scene. For the fact that this is her first film. I mean, this woman, she is shooting flames in her first film. She is destroying every single actress that I watched last year. Okay, Bette Davis destroys those women. Destroys them. I mean, that's how good she was in this movie. Even the woman I gave Best Actress to. Who did I give it to? Yeah, Peyton List and Eileen Wuornos. Trash compared to Bette Davis in this movie. I mean, wow. I'm gonna miss watching actresses like this act, because it is something to watch. It is something to sit back and be impressed by, seeing these really talented people taking their craft seriously. I did see a couple of really good performances last year, but none of them ever had a scene like this, where it was just 3 minutes of almost no dialogue, of Bette Davis being heartbroken and just really, really effective. Like, really, really sad. Like, it was very sad. It actually started to make me, like, feel something for this person in a 1930s movie. And I gotta say, too, this doesn't really have anything to do with the movie itself. It has to do with, like, the quality of the print that I watched. I watched this for free on YouTube, as I always do, unless I want to support it and buy it, which I'd actually wouldn't mind buying this movie, and I'd recommend you all buying this movie so that you can own it, because, just for the fact that it really does feel like a lost TV pilot episode that they could have made a really good series, maybe like a 5 or 6 season series, kind of like this. You know what this reminded me of most, if I could make any comparison from nowadays? If you guys have ever seen the show Revenge. I started watching that show a couple years ago, and I really, really liked it, and then I never got around to finish watching it for some reason. I only watched like the first season almost, and this is what that reminds me of, kind of. Like, this is exactly the type of show that this movie could have been. But on YouTube, on the print that I watched, it was some sort of a 4K scan, and it was really weird, because the movie opens up and it looks like the movie is sped up. It looks very weird and creepy, because all the people, everything is so sharp that it makes you wonder, like, how the hell is this possible? This is a 1930s movie, and everything is so sharp and crystal clear, and everything is like speeding around. Like, the movie looks fast forwarded, even though it's not. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys, but I saw the same thing on Halloween 1 and 2. When we watched those on Blu-ray last year for the reviews of that series. And I think that's why that movie looked fast-forwarded, because of it was a 4K scan. And so I would really recommend not buying 4K scans of movies, because it has a very weird, fast-forwarded look that is really not interesting to watch. It's very weird. The only thing that I liked about it in this movie was the fact that it's 1930s, and so it was almost like studying like a time capsule from that era, and it was weird, the fact that everything was so clear. And then finally, so there's this whole con thing where Marianne, it's really actually a great setup, because earlier in the movie, Marianne asks her dad to buy a dress for her. She says, "It's only $50. It's a bargain." And her dad lends her the money after she begs and pleads. And then later on in the movie, Humphrey Bogart, a.k.a. Valentine Coriolis, whatever that means, Coriolis, whatever the fuck, Valentine gives her a paper to sign for her dad to sign, and it says something like the dad has inspected his business and he can verify that you should put money into it, which is really funny. It's like such a easy scam to see, like, and of course she doesn't see it because she's in love with him, and so she doesn't care. And it's funny because there's a doom, there is a doom that you feel subconsciously, because you know that the dad is easily willing to give his daughter anything she wants. And in fact, right before she asks him to sign the paper, he gives her allowance. He gives her a big check and says, "Sorry, I was a couple of days late, daughter. Here is your money for the week." It's like, what is it, like thousands of dollars, like for her dresses and shit, her new dresses and her, I don't know. What did you need? What did you need all that money for in the 30s? Like, what did they have to buy that was worth it in the 1930s? What, cigarettes? So you can smoke and get cancer? What, is that what she needed her allowance for? I mean, what did she need it for? I mean, we never even got to see her spend her allowance. And in fact, you know what else is that the dad finds out about the scam because all of his friends lost their money. And the first thing I thought was, okay, why doesn't Marianne give up her allowance that she just got? She's got a big fat check right in her pocket that she hasn't used for anything, I guess. And she could easily use that to help pay back the friends. So I thought that was weird. But we never get to see what she buys with that allowance. Like, what does she need it for? I mean, is she really just going around buying a bunch of $50 dresses? Or I guess she said that was a bargain. So, if a $50 dress is a bargain, what kind of dresses does she buy? And this is 1930, so it's not even adjusted for inflation. But we know that the dad's going to sign the paper, and then the dad does something surprising, and he doesn't. And then she forges his signature, which is pretty devious, pretty sinister for her, because the whole movie, they kind of show her as being the bad sister. Even at the very beginning, Laura is already at the table, ready to eat breakfast. And Marianne is still in bed, and she wants the maid to come up there and bring her breakfast. So you can see that this Marianne, she's a trouble girl. She is a typical 1930s attention whore type of character who, she's one to watch out for. But the thing is that I still like her. Like, she's still a very likable person. She's not too unlikable like the actresses nowadays when they're in movies and they just do everything they can to make you not like them. I mean, even though this girl, basically, she wrecks her dad's life by forging his signature. Even though she does that, I still liked her. I still liked all the characters in this movie, really, except for Humphrey Bogart, because he was so paper thin. And we never get to see any more with him at the end. We never get to see him leaving town, and we never get to so he's a very mysterious character. And in fact, when he first comes into town, he literally just pulls up on a random woman walking with her man, this Marianne, and that's how he gets her, is he just pulls up on her randomly. He could have been a serial killer or something. So he's a very creepy, weird character. And in fact, I never thought about that, but that random selection is really the only thing we get to know about his character. And from that, What a creep. What a complete creep. But if this was a series, we could have explored him more, and he could have been like a really good character. And so then at the end, you have Marianne, and she actually gets with someone who I'll reveal, and you guys are going to have a heart attack and be like, oh my God, they never do that in 2022. Laura, she actually gets with the doctor, Dr. Dick, because she really likes Dick. And she wrote in her diary, she can only ever be someone for Dick. And so Laura got with Dick, but earlier on in the movie, and I'm sure you guys are sick of me talking about the movie. I don't know. There's not much to say, so I'm just trying to make it somewhat interesting. There's a really weird part in the movie where the dad of the two sisters and brother, where he is watching the maid make pancake batter, and he's like, make sure to make them big and thick and brown. That's how I like them. I like them Aunt Jemima pancakes. And he reaches his finger in raw pancake batter, and he gets a huge scoop of pancake batter and eats raw pancake batter. Ugh. And he liked it too. He liked it. And I had to think, this must have been acting, because there's no way that someone would eat raw pancake batter and actually like it. I mean, guys, I make pancakes every Sunday, and I would never eat raw pancake batter. Ew. Was that some weird trend in the 30s? I mean, I know all about the cliche where the guy dips his finger in something a woman is cooking and then tries it, but I mean, raw pancake batter? Ugh. And there's also an obsession in the movie with people kissing other people on the lips that are related to them. And in fact, everyone really kisses each other on the lips at the end when the family gets together with both sisters and their new husbands. And it's really cool because Marianne, as it turns out, she marries the fat guy. She marries the rich fat guy. And so basically, in this movie, she had an arc where she grew up and she married the fat guy. And it's really, really cool. I was genuinely shocked. I almost fainted. And speaking of fainting, there is a slapping scene in this movie that is so hilarious. I gotta talk about that. But Marianne, the lead character in this movie, marries the fat guy. The guy that this movie, they made fun of him the whole movie. They made him into a joke. They just made him he's just this clown, and both the sisters don't like him. They don't want to be with them. He's just this goofy side character. He's nothing. And then at the very end, boom! Marianne got fucked over by that con man, and she got with the fat guy. And she's baking a cake, and he's tasting some of her cake batter, and I'm sure it was pretty good. I'm sure that he wanted to eat all the cake batter and then eat her cake batter, if you know what I mean. But he liked that chocolate cake batter. And it was a really nice scene of wow, you would never see that in 2022. Never, ever, ever would you see that in 2022. Ever, ever in a 2022 movie. So I just think it's hilarious how these people in Hollywood nowadays, they act like diversity, my diversity, my representation. And then, of course, you have in a 1931 movie, the girl gets with the fat guy. Never would happen nowadays. Ever. Ever. So I just thought that was great. Wow. all the people in the movie, except for the bad guy, get to be happy. I mean, what a great message that is. What a great message that good triumphs over evil, and that evil, because I guess at the end, there's some sort of hinting that Humphrey's character, he's going to get caught. He's already been found out, and the family, they're back and they're as good as ever. The dad has 2 grandchildren now. He's going to probably have a 3rd one or 4th one coming up. And it is just a very happy ending after this this shambles part near the end. So I really loved the ending to this movie. Just for that, I got to give this movie props. The fact that, I mean, it doesn't have to happen every movie. Like, I understand that, it doesn't have to happen. But it was so nice, and it just felt like such a surprise that this protagonist character, that she grew up and she said, I'm not going to act like this immature little bitch anymore. And I am going to be with a guy who makes me happy instead of getting with scammers and losers. So I thought that was cool. But there was a really funny slap scene, which I thought was pretty funny, that I watched this after that Will Smith incident where he physically assaulted Chris Rock for telling a very light, funny joke about his whore wife. There's this part in the movie where Betty is looking at her sister Marianne, and she's begging for money, and Betty, she, like, I don't know how to describe it, like, she takes her right hand, and, like, let's just say you're waving it normally. Okay, now turn your hand backwards and like, just, like, scoop it backwards. Well, Bette Davis, like, does a weird, like, a backhand scooping slap to Marianne, and she slaps her in the mouth, which was really bizarre. It was a very funny slap. She just goes like, bam! And then her sister actually faints because, well, she faked it, but she, at first it was like, what WTF is this? Like, she's fainting over a slap, this, like, just bam! And Bette Davis, what a badass bitch. Bette Davis is awesome. After watching this movie, I can't wait to see her next movie. But I still need to give this movie a food review. I ate something today. It's a Sunday that I eat every Sunday. I told you, pancakes. This movie really is a stack of small pancakes, like 3 small pancakes with a little bit of syrup. Very, very simple, very basic, very bland, very, very uninteresting, but it's still pretty good for what it is. So, if you guys like a simple plate of stacked pancakes with some syrup, I personally like to mix things into pancakes, and I like to have more than just a little syrup. I mean, the problem with maple syrup is that you pour it, and then as soon as you pour it, you gotta eat it really fast because the syrup absorbs into the pancakes, and it actually, like, dries out, and you don't even have syrup left after a certain point. So, anyways, I would recommend this movie. It's a short movie. It's only an hour and 4 minutes long, and it's okay. There's not really much of a point to it. Like, it can't really decide if it wants to be about this family and, like, love and relationships, or about this, like, con artist. And so that was a problem. That's why I said, if they had, like, 12 more episodes of this, and it was like a show, and this was a season, I give this probably like a B+, A-, but it's not. It's just a movie. And it's such a weird title too, Bad Sister, because she's not really that bad. I mean, she's only bad at a certain point, and she makes up for it at the end. So I don't know about that. At least she marries the fat guy, though. I mean, what a fantastic character choice that was. What a great... That's something I'll never forget, ever. And that's how, all these actresses nowadays, they would never do that in a movie. They would never, ever be humiliated like that in a movie. But you have this 1930s actress, Sydney Cox, I think she was, and she was such a great actress that she did it in a movie. I mean, it just, I don't know, it really threw me for a loop. Like, I'm kind of out of it because I'm in shock. I'm in shock. Like, this guy, he's like a 500-pound, he looks like a mob boss that ate his twin brother mob boss. Like, he is just, like, it is just like, I'm in shock. It's like, he's even, I mean, you guys called Marty ugly, which I didn't think Marty looked that bad. I thought he looked pretty cool. Especially when he wore that suit and everything. He looked pretty cool. He didn't look like, but this guy, I mean, he did not look very good. But you have this mature character and this Mary Ann, and the fact that she marries him, I'm shocked. I am just shocked. It was like otherworldly. So I can't wait to continue Bette Davis week. It's just too bad that Bette Davis wasn't the one who got with the fat guy. She wanted to get with Dick. She wanted to get with Dr. Dick, the boring doctor who was so bad that he failed in delivering a baby. The whole movie, the only medical thing he does, he fails with. He delivers a baby for someone, and he completely fails, and I think the mom died too. And so he was such a failure of a doctor, because I don't know, boring character. Anyways, please like this video, comment, what did you think of Bad Sister, and what did you think about Mary Ann getting with the fat guy? And then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see all the rest of my Bette Davis movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.